Welcome to ASEAN Wire. Today we're talking about Donald Trump's historic visit to Kuala Lumpur for the 47th Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summit.
And it really wasn't your standard diplomatic trip, was it? The main story here, the big takeaway, is the very personal, very high-level endorsement the U.S. president gave, specifically to Malaysia and, well, Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim.
Right.
The whole visit was basically rooted in recognizing Malaysia's success in sorting out a regional crisis.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit, because you're right. This wasn't about the usual stuff like trade deals or, security pacts. Trump actually said publicly that he felt he owed Prime Minister Anwar a visit. That's really specific language in politics. It wasn't just attending the summit. It felt like a very public thank you for getting that ceasefire done between Thailand and Cambodia.
Exactly. And the weight of that, diplomatically, it's huge. It really elevates Malaysia's standing. For the U.S. president to make a specific trip, essentially to applaud a deal brokered by the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Well, it says a lot about Anwar's influence, doesn't it?
It does.
And also about how effective Malaysia was acting so quickly as the Association of Southeast Asian Nations chair.
Absolutely. And the geopolitical significance, I think, comes from the fact that this stop in KL, it sort of broke the mold of typical presidential trips. But to really get why President Trump felt it was necessary, we need to understand just how serious that crisis was. The one Malaysia stepped in to diffuse.
Yeah.
What exactly was going on between Thailand and Cambodia? Why did it need such urgent top-level intervention?
Well, we're looking at a border dispute that's been around for ages, centuries, really. The border itself is long, about 817 kilometers.
Wow.
And it's not just about lines on a map. It's complex. There are competing claims over temples with historical significance, access to resources, control over strategic bits of land. It's flared up. But the real crisis point, the moment it tipped over, was July 24th. That's when tensions properly escalated. We're talking about actual military confrontation, troop movements, border incursions. It got dangerous fast.
A military standoff between two neighbors in the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. That's pretty much a worst-case scenario for regional stability, isn't it? Can you give us a sense of how bad it really was along that, 817-kilometer border? Where were the main hotspots, and what were people worried might happen if mediation failed?
Look, the worst-case thinking wasn't just, prolonged tensions. It was the possibility of a full-blown regional conflict, one that could potentially drag in other countries, destabilize the whole area economically, security-wise. And the human cost, that was immediate. If fighting had properly broken out, you'd be looking at mass evacuations of civilians on both sides, trade routes disrupted, a major refugee crisis potentially. So, yes, it needed someone credible, someone neutral to step in fast.
Right. Which brings us neatly to Malaysia's role, and they moved incredibly quickly, didn't they? Decisively.
Yeah.
Malaysia held the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Chairmanship then, which gave them the platform, but how did they pull it off so fast? 4 days. That's barely enough time to arrange meetings, let alone broker peace.
Prime Minister Anwar really leveraged the authority that comes with the chair, yes. But I think, more importantly, he put his own political weight behind it. He personally organized and hosted these high-level talks behind closed doors right there in Putrajaya.
Okay.
And that was on July 28th, literally just 4 days after things had really flared up. That speed, it sent a message, didn't it? Urgency, commitment. It sort of bypassed the slower, more bureaucratic ways these things sometimes happen in big organizations.
That rapid response is exactly why people called it fast-track diplomacy, I suppose. And the key thing was getting the right people in the room, wasn't it? He got the leaders who actually had the power to stop the fighting. Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet and Thailand's acting Prime Minister at the time, Pudum.
Yes, absolutely. Getting those two leaders to sit down together in a neutral place, facilitated by a fellow Association of Southeast Asian Nations member, that was the crucial diplomatic achievement. And it worked. It diffused the immediate tension, led straight to the ceasefire.
Yeah.
And honestly, it wasn't just a win for Malaysia. It was a really significant moment for the Association of Southeast Asian Nations itself. It showed the bloc could actually handle its own internal conflicts without needing outside powers to step in.
Okay, so now let's circle back to Trump and that very public endorsement. Because this wasn't some quiet diplomatic note passed behind the scenes. He chose to talk about his reasons very directly to the press corps on Air Force One.
That's right. While flying to Kuala Lumpur, his comments were remarkably blunt. He confirmed telling Prime Minister Anwar, "I feel I owe you a visit,"
Mm.
And he praised Anwar publicly, too, called him a very excellent person, and explicitly linked that praise to Malaysia's success in getting the ceasefire done. That kind of language, it suggests a very almost transactional kind of appreciation for Anwar's effectiveness.
That phrase, "I owe you a visit," does that feel purely transactional to you? Like, you did this for regional stability, so I'll give you this high-profile visit? Or is there more to it? How might other leaders in the region have read that kind of, well, directness from a U.S. president?
I think it's probably a bit of both, isn't it? It is transactional in the sense that it confirms a sort of action-reward thing.
Mm.
You solved a big problem, so here's my public recognition. But the act of acknowledging it so publicly, traveling specifically for it, that's also strategic. The U.S., by endorsing an association of Southeast Asian nations brokered peace deal, is sending a signal. It's saying it values regional solutions, it values partners taking the lead on stability.
Yeah.
That fits into the bigger picture of, U.S. strategy in the Indo-Pacific.
And he didn't just talk to the reporters on the plane. He put it out there on his own social media platform, too, Truth Social.
Yeah.
He confirmed where he was going and why. That gave it a huge online presence.
Yes. He was heading to Malaysia specifically to witness this peace agreement. Interestingly, he used language that almost suggested a bit more U.S. involvement than perhaps was the case, saying something like, "I am on my way to Malaysia, where I will be signing this great peace agreement that I am proud to have brokered."
Right. That word brokered is interesting because, as we've discussed, the heavy lifting on the mediation was clearly Malaysia as the Association of Southeast Asian Nations chair.
Right.
But having the U.S. president use that term and make the trip specifically to witness the signing, well, it definitely adds prestige, doesn't it? It gives the agreement a kind of global spotlight.
It's an undeniable stamp of approval, internationally speaking. It takes what might have been seen as just a regional ceasefire and frames it as a globally significant diplomatic achievement.
Yeah.
And it's probably worth noting, too, the timing was sensitive because of the passing of the Thai Queen Mother. Trump did make sure to express condolences publicly to the Thai people while traveling, so managing the diplomatic niceties even amidst this big political statement.
Okay, so let's tie this all together with the main event where this culminated, the 47th Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summit itself.
Right. The summit meetings were held at the Kuala Lumpur Convention Center, KLCC, from September 26th to 28th. That provided the perfect formal setting for the final piece of the puzzle, the public validation.
And what did that final act look like? Who actually put pen to paper, and crucially, who was watching? Because as you said, the witnesses here are really part of the story.
So the formal signing of the joint statement confirming the ceasefire, that was done by the Thai Prime Minister Anutin and Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet.
Okay.
But you're absolutely right about the witnesses. The symbolism was powerful. Standing there watching the signing side by side, you had two major figures. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations Chairman, Prime Minister Anwar, and the U.S. President Donald Trump.
That image, them witnessing it together, it really underlines the success, doesn't it? It cements the international recognition of what Malaysia achieved diplomatically. So what does this whole episode mean for Malaysia's position within the Association of Southeast Asian Nations going forward?
Well, I think it clearly shows Malaysia can not only play a stabilizing role in the region, but can also attract the highest level of international validation for doing so. It potentially shifts how people see the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, too, maybe less as just an economic talking shop, and more as a body capable of resolving serious security issues.
Especially with decisive leadership.
Exactly. Especially when led by someone like Anwar Ibrahim, willing to act quickly. It also sends a message, perhaps, to other global powers that Southeast Asia can, and prefers to, manage its own conflicts internally. That's a powerful statement about regional autonomy.
So summing it up, what really stands out is how Malaysia used swift, proactive diplomacy, not just to stop a potential conflict between neighbors, but also managed to secure this incredibly visible endorsement from the U.S. president. It really solidified Malaysia's role as an effective mediator in the region.
Absolutely. And if you look at the bigger picture, this whole thing could be seen as a kind of blueprint, couldn't it? It shows what's possible when there's strong leadership within the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, using its platform assertively. It suggests the organization can tackle its volatile internal issues without always needing outside help, if the political will is there.
Which leads to a really interesting question for you, the listener, to think about. Given how successful this fast-track, high-level approach was, should the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, maybe especially when Malaysia holds influence or the chair, put more focus, more resources into tackling other long-running disputes within the region? Could this Thailand and Cambodian intervention become a sort of new template?
That's the key question, isn't it? Can this kind of decisive action be replicated for other complex regional issues? That's the challenge moving forward.
Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.